Hello and welcome. Thank you for staying with us on Channels Television. Now, let's start off today's show with your comments from the previous conversation we had with the former governor of Benue State. Obina O05819 says, no matter how bad the APC government may be, they're still better than the PDP. The PDP did not achieve anything for 16 years. If the second Niger Bridge is the only thing the APC achieved, we are happy. Well, that's from the last episode of the show. Let's come back to today. What are we talking about? In every facet of life, safety is a need. Otherwise, how would you go through life having accidents with every step? That's a question that you need to answer. Safety, challenges, and risk are common features in Nigeria and indeed around the world. It is evidenced by the relatively high number of accidents, frequent armed robbery incidents, and a rising wave of kidnapping on most highways, both urban and rural roads. Now, for the sake of this conversation, we'll stick to safety in the transport sector. According to figures by the Federal Road Safety Corps, no fewer than 5,081 people were killed in road traffic crashes in 2023 nationwide, as against 6,456 in 2022, representing a 21% reduction. Now, some other school of thought says 3 out of every 5 commuters in Nigeria is not aware of the safety measures that they need to monitor. Consequently, traffic safety and increased dangers are very glaring on all categories of water, road, rail, or air transport in Nigeria. In 2022, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau was established to replace the Accident Investigation Bureau, whose mandate focused on aviation safety. The NSIB now has to look at all the other. He has a bigger mandate covering land, air, and water transportation. Is this mandate working for the agency or for the nation? How many residents of this country are aware of the duties of the NSIB? What about the relationship with other government agencies? There are some who consider the safety agency as a meddlesome interloper. Really? Our guest doesn't agree. He feels there is more to the NSIB than meets the eye or the ear, as the case may be. Newsnight hosted the Director General of the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, Captain Alex Baden, Jr. Captain Alex Baden, thank you for speaking with us on Newsnight.
Thank you for coming, Milton.
It's a good thing to finally get to meet you on a personal note. But let's go professional here. So you came into a system that was reborn in the year 2022 with expanded areas of coverage.
Yes.
How's it been for you?
No, it's been a journey. It's been here 4 months, just shy of 5, and it's been very interesting. You know, it's been a steep learning curve for me. As I like to say in America, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Literally been doing that. But luckily, I have a very strong team behind me. I inherited very good directors and general managers here. My personal team, my special assistants, my technical assistants, my executive assistants, legal assistants have all been immense resources to me, as well as the minister. You know, he's given me a lot of backing and support, and he's truly let me be independent here. I rarely talk to him. I talk to him maybe once a week if I have anything pressing. But, you know, I've been on my own here and I've been doing my thing, and it's been good. I can't complain, really.
So for an organization that before 2022 was just focused on air accidents, now you have road, marine, air, rail, all manner of accidents to investigate. That's a huge mandate. And it says you're supposed to enhance safety in Nigeria's aviation, marine, road, rail sectors.
Yes.
Isn't that a huge task?
It is. It is a huge task, but, you know, I guess sitting on this chair, I must say I must be bigger than the task. I don't think it's people call it a huge task. I just see it as one more task and a step forward towards growth. So it's not a huge task. It's you put the right word for this. I think it's apt. It's the right task. I think I'm the right man for the job here.
Okay, that's good to know that you're the right man for the job. So let's start off with this matter, for instance.
Yes.
Yes, it's a reborn agency, but you had something like the excursion on the runway.
Yes.
The Dana thing. That's one of the major ones you've had to deal with.
Yes.
How's that working out?
My team here has done what they were trained to do. Once we were notified that morning of the occurrence, we dispatched our GO team. They went there, they secured the accident sites, they retrieved the FDR CVR, that's the flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder. They interviewed the pilots, they took their measurements, and of course released the airplane to be moved, not released to the operator, but released it to be moved from the accident site to a hangar for further analysis. They did send the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder to Abuja. We received it 48 hours ago. It was downloaded within the hour. I listened to some of it as well, and we started our analysis. We classified what happened as a serious incident, and the investigation is ongoing as we speak. There'll be further interviews within the coming week, and we aim to have the preliminary report out here in under 30 days per Annex 13 of the ICAO.
That discussion also opened up a lot of things that the airline itself had been going through some trying times. I don't know if that's part of what you're supposed to look at if you're to enhance safety in the airspace.
Well, we don't audit their financials, if that's what you're asking. That is not our prerogative.
Not necessarily the financials, but if you're going to enhance safety, that means you have to look at the viability of the entire structure.
Sure.
Would that be something that you're looking at?
Yes, we are, but that's predominantly a civil aviation. It's a regulator's prerogative to look at the viability. We just look at the systems. What is going on in that company? Are they following the rules? Maintenance programs, the company culture, all across it, which is what we're looking at now. Once we're done with the pilots and the quality assurance people there, we'll look at the whole company culture as a whole. And we'll make our safety recommendations to the Civil Aviation Authority, and they will take it up from there and continue.
Seeing that you're coming from a space where things are considered sequential, they happen in sequences.
Yes.
Tell us, what are your priorities inheriting a humongous agency with expanded responsibilities? And in the space of 4 months, you've had more or less about 3 or 4 infractions that you had to deal with.
Yes.
So what would be your top priorities?
Well, I wouldn't call them my priorities. I call them our priorities here at the NSIB. And number one is to make us more proactive rather than reactive. I find that there's been a lot of reaction here to things in recent times, and we need to get proactive. We need to stop these things before they happen, or at least try to predict, using, data analytics out here, technology and, just human ingenuity, just to see how we can predict and stop these things from happening. Of course, we aim to make safety a way of life in Nigeria, so we're looking to do more public sensitization, stakeholder sensitization. We need to go out there as an agency and talk to the people out on the streets. We just need to educate people about not just aviation, because we're so aviation centric here, but there's other modes out there that we need to talk to people about, and even the flying public. Sometimes little things happen and they get sensationalized and taken out of context. So there needs to be more education.
In Nigeria, for instance, when there's a road accident, you have the traffic police officers there to look at what happened. They take pictures and all of that. At what point does the NSIB come in?
As it stands, we're not, as much as I hate to say this, we're not present when it comes to road traffic accidents. Rome was not built in a day. We're growing, we're expanding, we're getting the manpower, we're trying to secure the funding and the necessary training, as well as talking to the stakeholders. So the regulators, i.e. the Federal Road Safety, we need to be more in step with them, and the police as well. And then there needs to be defined roles. Of course, the police can deputize, if I may say so. I don't want to say deputize on road safety, but, they can do all of this. But the primary responsibility of accident investigation rests with the NSIB. Of course, we can't be everywhere. So as we work together with the police and the road safety, and we come into more MOUs, we'll find a way where they can deputize to investigate certain accidents. And when you have, huge ones, say a tanker spill or something with an explosion, then we can come in for those certain ones. So we're working towards that. It's in the works, and we aim to have that by the time we leave here in 4 years, have there be a proper structure and everyone knows the NSIB is out.
Because I'm asking the question because, for instance, in the area of the military and the insurgency situation, there's been that matter of interagency collaboration, conflict here and there, hoarding of information. What's the guarantee that the police and the road safety, whatever they've investigated or they have accidents that they've seen, they were going to give you the information you need to be able to do that? Or would the NSIB be forced to now employ investigators, expand its its workforce to bring in more investigators? And again, at what point would you be able to define that now, or is it something that's being worked on to say this is when we step in?
Well, as it stands, first of all, there are no guarantees to anything in life. So, with regards to the road safety of the police and the cooperation, it's, as we say, sensitization. More talk. It's talk. To get that cooperation in there, and this hoarding of information. It's human nature to hold what is near and dear to certain people. So we are not coming in there to take away from them. We're here to complement the work of the road safety and the traffic police. Now, of course, we will have to hire. We will have to expand as an agency. We just have to grow. There's no way the 300 other members here, all over the country of over 200 million people in 36 states, we can't be everywhere as it stands. And we don't aim to be everywhere, but we need to grow significantly to tackle these challenges so we can hold up our end of the mandate.
What are your plans to improve on investigations? If we go back again to the accident, you mentioned Soliso Airlines. It took a while for the results to come forward. And I understand that at the same time, they had to take certain data out of the country.
Yes.
Have we grown beyond that?
Oh, immensely.
So are there more plans to enhance this investigation so that the reports come out faster? You said something about the Dana Air. It's going to be out in about 30 days.
Preliminary report
in 30 days. So what are the plans to make this timelines, for instance, shorter?
Well, with the preliminary report, there's no real way to make it shorter, barring a change from ICAO. You have up to 30 days. It can come out within a week, 2 weeks. We do have the technology here already. Like I said, we downloaded this data within 24 hours of the incident, and it's been analyzed already as we speak. So when it comes to that, we're there. Of course, there's massive room for improvement. Some airplanes have really, really old flight data recorders, and there's no support for that equipment anymore. So certain airplanes we might not be able to read unless we go by or have them, develop the same.
Would it then mean that the airline operators would have to speak with the NSIB before they go buying some of these planes?
Well, not the airline operators. Well, that would be an NCAA thing again. And NCAA does have the guidance, and all airliners now, not general aviation, but airliners, they have, I think all the airplanes in here have, some sort of modern flight data recorder / cockpit voice recorder as we speak. Now, for the general aviation, so I'm talking about your general charter, recreational airplane. That's what I'm talking about when I say certain airplanes have really old, flight data recorder and CVR in their airplanes. So they're the ones I'm referring to.
So those ones, for instance, and that's the question I'm asking, would they have to do away with those airplanes? Or would they have to find a way of improving on those airplanes?
They will have to find a way.
They have to operate here.
They will have to find a way. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has guidelines and rules, and they enforce them. I would say more robust enforcement is definitely needed, which we've seen inklings of in recent times.
Yeah, indeed.
So,
we saw that in the last couple of days. We saw the ministers, we saw the NTA moving real quick.
Yes.
Even though there are reactions to this Dana thing, someone saying, why? What's going on? Why is the minister stepping on? He's like, hey, come on, this is not me. That's the regulator doing his thing. But staying with the NSI, is the NSI taking any... yes, you talked about talks with the other agencies to enhance information sharing so that it's easier to deal with.
Oh, yes, we are. We're signing MOUs with numerous agencies. We work with the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority since we're a brother and sister, really. So we do share information robustly with them. We've signed, we're in the process of signing MOUs with the Railway Corporation which should lead to enhanced accident investigation with our rail accidents. I know there was an accident, a year ago somewhere, where a train derailed because some people stole parts of the track. So little things like that, Once our MOU is signed here, hopefully in the next 30 days, there should be a significant improvement in our cooperation with the Railway Corporation. We're also talking with NIWA, the Nigerian Inland Waterways Agency.
In all of this, while you are there to do investigations, do you think we have enough safety infrastructure?
Oh no, I would be lying if I said we did. There has been an improvement in the safety infrastructure in Nigeria immensely over when I left here, 9 years ago. But there is still a long way to go with regards to that. I'll give you an example with our jetties. We have so many unregistered jetties in the country, formal, informal. And you see people getting on canoes and boats with no vests, i.e. the Annam boat incident, 3 weeks ago, where they were all on the boats, no vests. The boat captain was speeding. I mean, I'm not sure if we have a code, a waterway code right now. I haven't seen one thus far. And, you would think that there should be speed limits in certain parts of the waterways. With the Annam incident as well, at high speed, hit a canoe. They all fell in, no one had a vest. And you had, 5 people drown that day, which was, it was avoidable. All they need, simple things like vests. So we're trying to talk to the relevant authorities to try to invest in that so we can go out, sensitize, and give out these vests to these, seafarers in our inland waterways as well.
But that's even for the waterways. What about the roads? Are there safety infrastructure? What's the guarantee? How are you going to encourage this? Is that part of the plan you're working on to see? For instance, I do know that the road safety will tell you you must have your fire extinguisher, you must have your all manner of things. You must have a razor blade, a torchlight, a jack. But who is enforcing all of this?
There should be the road safety, but not only enforcement. I think education, sensitization, but also you have to look at the purchasing power of the people, of the motorists. In our quasi-socialist economy where we are, some of these things are unaffordable to these people. They have competing priorities. So I would, if I were asked, I would ask that the government maybe provide some of these things free. It should come as part of the sensitization programs for all these motorists, and we provide these safety aids to them initially, and once they see the importance of having these things, once you provide it, then you can start to enforce, because as it stands, a lot of people cannot afford that. It's just, the country is hard. But if it's provided to you, you come to a class, or you come for your driver's license or something, or come to renew your registration, it comes part of something that's given to you once, and maybe next year, you come back, we ensure you have it and it's being maintained.
Again, you've used sensitization, that word. You've used it a couple of times since this conversation started. Does it mean that you're working out a mode to enhance this? Is the NSIB going to go out on the streets for road works and all of that?
Actually, we are.
Are you looking at the schools? Will you be going through the schools?
We're looking to do both. We're looking to go out into the streets, the markets, the motor parks, once we have the manpower to try and talk to these people. Not only that, we have a hall here in our training school, and we're looking to have symposiums, invite people over, periodically, just to talk to them. And of course, schools, universities, even primary schools, we're looking to start, little cartoons, jingles for these kids, so they know the importance of transport safety, seatbelts safety, for example. I mean, even my little kids, I have a 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and they know to strap in once they get into the car. And sometimes I drive around, I see kids in the front seat, no seatbelt, no car seats. So you can teach these little kids, and they tell you, a 6-year-old could tell you, no, I need to drive with my seatbelt. So we're looking to teach that as well to these little kids. It's a good practice. They're going to grow up with that. And when they're adults, a seatbelt is, it's second nature to them.
You might find it real tough. You talked about a quasi-social culture that we have here where things are difficult. And you go to some motor parks, you find two people sitting in front with the driver.
Yes.
We might really find it difficult trying to educate these people, because go ask the road safety. How have they fared in this area of sensitization, which happens? Is it something that you'll be doing with them?
Yeah, well, it's a continuous process. It's a slow process. It's continuous. We as safety advocates should never get tired of doing it. It's my job. I can't get tired of telling them, hey, you can't do this. So I can only push the rest of my team and say, hey, keep doing this, keep at it. If 10 cars go out that day and one car decides, okay, I'm not going to carry one person in front, that is one life saved. So, you chip at it little by little, it adds up in the end. I'll be here, I'll do my tenure. Whoever comes after me, as long as they continue, at some point in Nigeria, we will get there.
Would you be looking to push for consequences?
Of course, they should. I don't know if consequences are the word I want to use. There should be something, corrective action, something corrective. Not a consequence, not something punitive, but something corrective. It should be something that will remind them next time to not do it. How that's going to be, I don't know yet. It'll be a conversation with the regulators, but there should be some corrective action.
Let's, right now, honestly, I feel like we're just going around in circles. We're doing small talk. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's start off from where the NSIB started from, the AIB.
Yes.
Accident investigation, which has to do with the air travel.
Yeah.
And if we look at our aviation sector, what would you say we have?
Would you say we have, or we
Yes. Would you say we have a safety-conscious aviation sector? Would you say the players in that sector are even working the path of safety?
I would say at least 90%. There has to be a little margin for error, which is why you see certain little things happen here and there. But by and large, aviation is very safe in Nigeria, which is evidenced by the fact that we've not had any mass casualty events since Dana in 2012. It's inherently safe, even with the age of certain airplanes in our airspace. It's been safe. So I would say, I would give the aviation sector here at least 90% for safety right now.
But is that where we ought to be?
No. We aim for 100%.
Do you have any plans, or are there things in the works? Maybe you should shed more light on some of those things that are in the works to enhance safety in the aviation sector, especially in these times when things are really difficult, as you said.
Yeah.
Aviation fuel is expensive, maintenance is expensive, even welfare of staff is expensive.
Well, I do know the minister and the federal government have been on that when it comes to maintenance, provision of more modern airplanes for the airline operators here. You've heard the minister say severally he's been in talks with Airbus, Boeing, leasing companies to try and get these airplanes, more modern airplanes, into the country. And it's evidenced by the infrastructural growth you've seen at Abuja Airport, Lagos, and all around. Of course, there's still some infrastructural deficit, but we do know they're building a second runway here, which will expand the airport greatly. I know at Lagos Airport, there's plans are afoot now to improve on what we have there. So definitely there are plans, beyond me to help do that. I can only just do my safety part, which again is education, talk, make recommendations, which we're doing. So
what would your little bit help to sort out the human error issue? Because that's a major factor in accidents.
Yes, human factors is a huge thing in aviation, and that's something you don't stop talking about. You keep talking, you educate, you re-educate, you talk, which is what they do with the training. And we just try to talk to these operators. We had a meeting with the airline operators of Nigeria in January, and same thing we said, we want to come out and talk to everybody. We have our website, our reporting website, which you can go report accidents and incidents anonymously. It's non-punitive. I know the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority have a safety management system website as well, which is the NCAASMS.com. And anybody can go in there, report any safety concern he or she might have when it comes to aviation. So I think we're going to try to get that more out there to the public. So anybody flying a regular passenger can go in there and report what he or she might have seen.
So far, as I said earlier, we've just been playing around, preliminary, talking about this and that, sensitization and all. yes, you've come in here, you spent 5 months or so to speak. What are the challenges you've had to deal with?
Number one, interagency cooperation, which you spoke about. But we're making headway with that slowly but surely. Getting acceptance for the NSIB from regulators in other modes. Be it maritime, rail, or road transports. Everyone's protective of their turf, and they think we're here to take food from their table, so to speak. So that's been number one. Number two, we would say funding. It's been a big issue.
I was actually hoping you will not get to that funding, because the funding looks like a challenge for the entire country.
It is a challenge for everyone, but for us especially, we're supposed to be an independent investigative body. Yes, we're domiciled under the Ministry of Aviation, but for us to truly do our job, we're independent, which is why we're independent of our minister's interference. But unfortunately, when you don't have the funding, to go out and make, do these investigations, and I understand your competing needs out in the country, so we're making do with what little we have.
This matter of working with these agencies now, is it a major challenge? Is it part of the, would you say it's one of the reasons why we're not seeing or hearing as much of the NSIB?
It is on a scale of 10, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Just, again, we need more cooperation. If there's no cooperation, we actually can't be effective. Like with the Annam boat incident recently, we got more cooperation from the Maritime Police than we did from the National Inland Waterways Agency. And I would have hoped that we would work together. A team went out there, and unfortunately, there was nobody from the inland waterways that they could coordinate with out there in Anambra State. It's been slow going. We're still on it, and I think they've made plans to meet sometime next week, which is atrocious considering that'll be almost a month after the accident. It should have been immediate when it happened, not a month later. So, that's unsatisfactory. To be honest, there should be more cooperation, interagency cooperation when it comes to things like this.
Because when you hear about investigations, one would think that the promptness of it will help
Yes.
to bring forth what may have caused the accident and prevent a recurrence. But now you're saying that these issues of is he here for us? Are they here for us? Are they not here for us? Plays some kind of role, as you said, 6/10 in how you deliver on your
assignment. And I must add, and that's the reason why the NSIB is domiciled with aviation as aviation heavy, because you see with aviation incidents and accidents, there's prompt response, there's immediate, dispatch of investigators out there within hours of whatever happens. Whereas with the maritime incidents, there's this laissez-faire attitude towards it, where everyone is, I read so much of these, and we just don't have the manpower, the expertise to be everywhere. So we just nip at what we can, little by little.
And so at the end of the day, aviation, maritime, rail. What about the roads? Who's regulating the roads? How are you working with that? I don't know if you're in a relationship with the NURTW, the Mass Transit Bus Owners Association, the Road Transport Owners Association. Are you relating with all of these guys? I mean, an accident happened a couple of weeks ago. 8 people, I think, were around Kwara or so. People are dying on a daily basis on these road accidents.
That would be the regulators would be the Federal Road Safety Corporation of Nigeria.
Are they getting this information to you?
We do have an MOU. I don't think that MOU was strong on information sharing, or if it was, it's not been followed to the letter. So we do aim to visit them as well, just to tackle these things. Unfortunately, we've been tackling our own internal fires here, just to keep the lights on and just keep things going as an agency and deal with our training. So we will meet up with the Road Safety Corporation. But again, we can't tackle everything at the same time. So, it's one at a time, low-hanging fruit, aviation, maritime here.
What would you say your relationship is like with international organizations?
We have very good relations with
other investigative bodies out
we
there.
do. We have MOUs with the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board in the U.S. We just renewed ours with the BEA in France, the UK, Canadian Transport Safety Board as well. They help us with our lab as well. So we do have pretty robust MOUs with a lot of international corporations at this time. And with even other West African countries, where we're the big brother, we have MOUs with them and we aid them in air accident investigation as well.
Oh, we aid?
We do aid a lot of West African countries.
Wow.
Yes, we do.
So these collaborations and MOUs you have, do they include training, exchange programs for trainings and exposure?
Oh, yes, we do. We do have one in Liberia in June, where we're sending 2 of our flight data analysts to go give a basic course on air accident investigation, actually, in Monrovia in June.
Okay.
So yeah, we do support our neighbors.
Oh. So, despite these challenges, you obviously have plans for the future.
Yes,
you talked earlier about enhancing investigative capabilities, but let's look at that matter of legislature.
Yes.
Would you say you have enough space within which to operate? Do you have adequate legislative space within which to operate?
It's a tough question to answer. I would. I wouldn't want to say we don't.
Will you be looking to push for legislative reform?
Yes, we will be pushing. We will be looking to push for more legislative reforms, just to get everybody to play their part. You know, it's one thing to legislate; it needs to be followed to the letter of the law, and it needs to be understood by both parties. So we will be going back to the National Assembly to encourage them to bring the relevant stakeholders back to the table, just to encourage them to work with the NSIB. But of course, that's a later thing. I go back to sensitization. I feel that we need to sensitize not just the public, but these other regulators to let them know that, hey, this is what we're here for. We're here to help and support, not to impede, your operations. So we just need to educate people more, just to show them this is why we're here. I mean, there was that resistance to the AIB, the precursor to the NSIB. There was some resistance when the AIB was formed in the aviation industry. But by 2015, the AIB's paid off. Other than Dana in 2012, which the report is out there, there's been no major mass casualty crash because, the AIB has done its part, the NCA, the regulator, has done its part to move things to the next level here.
So this public awareness and education, sensitization, as you put it, it's like it's next to investigation. It looks like the next best thing closest to your heart.
It is.
So walk us through your plan.
Well, our plans, you mentioned the National Union of Road Transport Workers. They are a big part of our plans. We aim to visit them sometime this year to talk to them. And like I said, we're going to be having symposiums and lectures here. We aim to have them come in, just to educate them on, road transport safety, just little safety measures. And, I go back to the Annam incident as well. It broke my heart to see some people pulled out of the water and they weren't given CPR. It's in this day and age, and they took them to a native doctor at that time while they were alive, and they drowned with water in their lungs on land. That is, again, that's part of sensitization. People should know this by now. You pull someone from the water, give them CPR, try to get some air in there and get the water out of his lungs. So little things like this, they're little things. Again, you chip at these little things by educating the public. Once the public is aware of what they need to do, I think things will change.
So, you have a huge assignment ahead of you. Mm-hmm. How do you intend to develop? Because it's one thing to make recommendations. It's one thing to have all these MOUs. It's another thing to see implementation. So, what's your plan towards implementing a robust framework for seeing that your recommendations are taken and they're implemented?
Well, like I said, we do have the committee with the NCA. We always need a committee, so we meet back and forth with, again, the maritime regulators, the rail regulators. It's constant talking back and forth, because if you do something, I take it as a pilot, for example. You tell it, airplane's on autopilot. You tell it what you want to do. You don't go to sleep. You make sure the airplane is doing what you want it to do. Same with a boat captain. You turn it or you turn your car. If you go to sleep, it's going to do what it wants to do. So once we make recommendations, we're going to keep checking with the regulators to make sure that these recommendations we made are at least being adhered to, bare minimum, and see the effect. And if it's not effective, we change course, because we're allowed to go back and pull back whatever recommendations and make, more robust ones if the first one we made is not working.
You mentioned over and over again how there's we have very few mass deaths from accidents in the aviation sector, industry, or sector, as the case may be. But that doesn't seem to be the situation in the road transport sector. For instance, we have tankers exploding with fuel content and destroying properties and all of that. We also have accidents happening on the roads. Yes, you said road safety, the FRCs on top of that game, and you're working out an MOU with them.
Yes. We do have one where
you have an MOU with them, but you're hoping to enhance it. What about the Bristol helicopter crash?
That's still in progress. The preliminary report has been out. We will have an interim here sometime by June at the latest, but we're actively investigating that. We've spoken to the pilots severally. In fact, we're inviting them back over here, I think, next week.
So from the preliminary report, what would you say was the cause of it?
And I'm reading here, it spoke about the crew being type rated on the airplane, so they were type rated to fly. It says the captain was licensed and qualified to conduct the flight. It says the first officer's medical certificate validity expired on the 15th of January 2024, which is what we're looking into, because that flight, I think, occurred after that date. So she should not have been flying that helicopter that day. The aircraft's certificate of airworthiness was valid. The insurance was valid. Here it said the crew experienced failure of the autopilot systems 1 and 2, and the aircraft entered an unusual attitude. So it's an undesired state of flight. So they lost all automation. And it says the flight data recorder captured multiple unusual attitudes within a 5-minute period. Finding number 11 said, in an attempt to re-engage the auto flight control system, the crew reset the gang bar, which is a suite of circuit breakers, for lack of a better word, for the master generator 1 or 2, which provides electrical power to the airplane. And that's what caused the airplane, the autopilots, to go off an airplane to get into an undesired state.
Again, all of these things happened, and yes, they're put up on the website. Nigerians are expected to go there and read them, but creating an awareness of what the findings are would also help to draw Nigerians into your space to say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is where we are. The Martini Airline Services, for instance, there was a Challenger N580KR, Challenger 601 AR aircraft, considered it a serious incident. That preliminary report was submitted on March 8, 2024.
Yes.
And the Asman Air Services, for instance, also had another issue submitted February 15th. When things like this happen, again, this is the aviation sector.
Yes.
But you have all of this report from the aviation sector. There was something that happened in Kwara, a boat mishap.
Yes.
How's that going?
I know, again, that predated me, but there was some investigation into that. I think over 100 people lost their lives. And so far from our findings, it was due to overloading. And of course, no one having life vests, if I recall, with that incident. But that seems to be a trend in our inland waterways, overloading on our boats and canoes and people without life vests. And I do have a little bit of data here. From what we had, there were 299 deaths last year in our waterways. That's just, and that's just a snippet of what it really is, because a lot of people you
Some of
know,
them are
drown.
never reported.
Never reported because there's such remote parts of the country, and nobody, you know, just reports
Do you
that.
know that somewhere in, I think, Adamawa, or there was a boat in Niger, there were a boat,
Yeah, Taraba.
Taraba,
Yeah, it
there were
happens
boat
more often than
mishaps.
people. And with that, which is why we're looking to open, because we have the NSIB in 4 geopolitical zones right now, and we're looking to expand into the northeast and the south-south just to cover each zone, and then, you know, try to expand as we move forward. Especially for the northeast, you have the River Benue there, and you have Taraba and all that. So there are a lot of drownings in Adamawa and River Benue. So we're looking to expand there just to, you know, shine our searchlight there as well and to educate them, you know, on these safety measures.
At the end of the day, the Nigerian transport space
Yes,
requires a lot of work.
it does.
What would you think will make a difference from the NSIB point of view?
Again, I go back to my sensitization. You know, I think that is going to make all the difference in the world. People need to know the mistakes they're making. People need to be educated. You know, before anybody gets on a canoe, they should know that they need a vest. They should not get on a canoe without a vest. It's simple. Most people are doing it just out of ignorance. They think it's safe, it's okay. People are well educated on airplanes, you know, and it's mostly the middle class that fly in Nigeria. So, you know, there's a bit of, you know, that education or awareness level. So people are more wary to, you know, little things there than with, you know, say our boats or our cars, where people aren't, you know, well educated or, you know, understand the nuances of these things. So I think it's just that education, like the seatbelt. You know, you have a lot of drivers who never went to driving school. They just jump up, get in the car, and they start driving. And I've been fortunate to go to a driving school where I was properly taught. You know, I read the highway code as a kid. I always had it in my car. So we need to go back to that to ensure people are properly educated and tested, you know, before they get into cars. And then, so the road safety needs to enforce the seatbelt, you know, the seatbelt regime. You know, you get caught. I mean, off the top of my head, I would think if I catch a driver without a seatbelt, I won't find you there and then. I'll take a picture, you know, take note of your registration in your car and your license number. You'll come to renew. When you come to renew, you're not getting renewed. You must go through some sort of training again, re-education, and pay, you know, a nominal fine just to remind you.
So what you just said now brings to mind the attitude of the investigators and enforcers. And sometimes the Nigerians react negatively because the person coming to do the investigation or even to enforce anything is not being humane,
Yes.
so to speak. Would we see a difference in the NSIB investigators?
Well, yes, the NSIB is always humane in our investigation. Like we say, we're not here to apportion blame to anybody. We're just there to make findings. We're there to see what happened, why it happened, and make our safety recommendations. So for us, we're not there to blame anybody or fight anybody. You know, we just want, again, put the human face to it, and we understand why this or that may have happened, and we're just going to say it as it happened. It's up to the regulator to decide how they want to.
So what would you say to those who feel that you're just occupying space, as the NSIB here, occupying space and dabbling into areas you shouldn't dabble into?
Well, I would have them to go look all around the world. It is, we don't exist in a vacuum. Countries all over the world have a safety investigation bureau or its equivalent. You have the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board in the US. You have the Canadian Transport Safety Board. You have the BEA in France. You have the Japanese one. It's what's had all over the world. And we can't exist in a vacuum in Nigeria and say, especially now when we're trying to cut public waste and all that, we can't have, well, I shouldn't say we can't. I don't think it's best to have multiple investigative agencies across all modes, because that just leads to waste and duplication of roles.
So what would you be saying to Nigerians who are concerned they don't know you, but yet you say you are needed? There's this agency is a need that needs to be. So what would you be saying to Nigerians in terms of like safety, understanding safety, and understanding the role of the safety investigators when they do step in?
Well, I would say if you think safety is expensive, try an accident. That's the first thing I would say. It's, you know, we might pay lip service to safety, but every time something happens and someone loses a loved one or gets maimed, then they realize and say, hey, maybe I should have done this different. We're here to try and prevent the maybe I should have. We're trying to prevent that by thinking ahead, by taking data and putting it out there. So when people say, why is the NSIB out here? We don't know you. That is why we're on TV here. We're trying to get ourselves out there, and we will try to do more sensitization for the NSIB and educate, even the little ones, as we said earlier, and just try to get ourselves out there and get the Nigerian public to know and understand that we're here. We're unbiased. We're just here to see what happened, take data. I'm pretty sure if we go back looking, you can predict something that's going to happen by just seeing trends. And that's what we're here for, just to see what has happened in the past and try to predict and prevent these incidents from happening in the future again.
Can you really prevent incidents from happening?
Oh yeah, data analytics will prevent a lot of these things.
How am I going to see the data analytics?
You don't have to. We will put the data out there. You can see, because it's a trend. If you see a trend of things happening, if there is so in Lagos, I give an example on the Lekki Expressway past the toll. You remember there was a time there were roundabouts there? And I don't know if you remember what used to happen. People used to go out, come back at night, drinking, and drive straight into the roundabouts.
Yeah.
What happened? They took that data and realized it's data. Because you see it happen, it happens, it's a trend. And the state government said, oh no, these roundabouts are killing people. So they took them out and did something else. That is the power of data. It's a simple thing. You start to see trends. Once you start looking, you will find it. That's what the NSIB is doing now. We're looking. I think in the past, no one was really looking. Like I said, we're reactive as opposed to being proactive. But for us, and talking of data, it's a hard thing to get in Nigeria. So we're trying to gather all that data. But if you take data of 10 years for accidents, I bet you'll find a thread of similar things happening. And once you know what that is, you can now predict that, okay, this will happen and we should go this way or that way. Which is why, like the road safety we talk about Ember months in Nigeria, where you have more accidents from people traveling and hurry to get home and all that. It's just data. And once you start to look at that, you can predict what's going to happen and try to model ways around that to prevent it.
Interesting. Would you be looking to get ambassadors for the NSIB?
Oh, yes, for sure.
How are you going to recruit those ambassadors?
Well, we're going to try to speak to the human kindness. We will try to talk to them.
Because, as you said, funding.
It's a funding issue.
So how's that all going to work out?
We will talk to them, and we'll see how we can come to a mutually agreeable solution that makes every party happy. So I don't know what that's going to look like now, but yes, we are looking to talk to ambassadors. Like I said, we're looking to go to the National Union of Road Transport Workers at some point this year. And of course, we will need ambassadors to go there. And there are people in there as well who we've identified internally as, ambassadors for us. So we'll see how that goes.
Thank you so much. We do hope you get all the funding you require.
Yes, Nota. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate your participation in today's program. Your insights are very important to us, and we encourage you to connect with us on social media using the handles shown on your screen. Furthermore, you can access this episode and the past episodes of the show through our website, channelstv.com/podcast, to get started. Also, go to youtube.com/channelsweb to see all our videos as well. I'm Neo Tagbe, wishing you bye-bye for now.